Hello, my name is Megan McCombs Hayes, and this video is on standard of review. Today I'm going to specifically cover what is the standard of review and the two ways that you can find the standard review for your cases using Lexis Advance. First, why is standard of review so important? The standard of review is very important because it tells the court how much deference they need to give in reviewing a decision of the lower court or tribunal. There are different types of standards of review, and we're going to quickly review those. Typically, standard review is a one-sentence, this is the standard of review that you're going to have the court review your particular appellate brief. First, whether or not it is a question of law. These types of cases are reviewed de novo because the Court of Appeals are primarily concerned with enunciating the law. They give no deference to the trial court's assessments of the purely legal questions. So essentially, it's like a clean slate, and they do not have to pay attention to what the lower court said regarding the law. Second, you have questions of fact, and these cases are viewed clearly erroneous. It's where the finding of fact, whether based on the oral or documentary evidence, shall not be set aside unless clearly erroneous, and due regard shall be given to the opportunity of the trial court to judge the credibility of the witness. And then finally, we have mixed questions of law and fact. And here's where it gets a little bit more tricky. You have either abuse of discretion standard or de novo standard. There's no set standard of review, and so it's your job then to figure out, based on the cases and the type of law, which standard is going to be the most favorable for your client. Let's go ahead now and log on to Lexis Advance. Let's start with the standard of review for the Hague Convention, specifically looking for habitual residence. I'm going to start my terms, or the way that I begin my search, a little bit differently than if I were just beginning my research process. I know that I want standard of review. Again, remember, I don't need quotes because my phrase automatically is put all together when I include a connector, such as within the same paragraph. And then I'm going to add habitual residence. So the way that this search is going to run, it's going to look for standard review as a phrase, and it has to be within the same paragraph as habitual residence. I'm going to go ahead and select search. All right, I naturally default to cases, so I'm going to then make sure that I'm looking at the exact cases for my jurisdiction. So I'm going to choose the 6th and the 9th Circuit. Click OK. So I always choose my jurisdiction first whenever I'm filtering, and the second thing I make sure is that I'm looking at only reported cases. So I want to go ahead under publications status and select reported. All right, I have 8 cases, which really isn't that many. And again, I have a pretty good search because I know that I'm going to get the standard review within the same paragraph. And here's where I can also use my search term map, the color coding of my terms, so I can see where they appear together within the case. I can scroll over it here so that I can see where the terms appear within my document, or I can actually click into the document. It will take me exactly to where that appears. I'm going to start from the beginning, and we'll just look at this first case. All right, so here, standard review, it's in the headnotes. So remember, headnotes are the actual rule of law, which means that this is an actual rule from this particular case. It's going to give me habitual residence on the Hague Convention, call for standard review, blah, 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 blah. Unless they are clearly erroneous, but this doesn't give me a lot of information, right? So I can do a couple of things. I can look at where this is appearing within the specific opinion. But let's move on. Let's see if there's another case that really goes into describing what standard review should be for habitual residents. So let's go to the Robert B. Tessin case. All right, so from here, I'm going to look again at the headnotes. Headnotes are the actual rule of law, and this says the question of which standard should be applied in determining a child's habitual residence under the Hague Convention is one of law and should be reviewed by de novo by Circuit Court of Appeals. So this is a really good place to start. It gives me a good sense of what's out there. I'm then going to click into where that occurs within the opinion. Here's my standard of review. But let's just make sure that we've gotten it all. And obviously, you're going to want to read through that case and see why they're applying that standard of review under the Robert B. Tessin case and how that impacts the way that you would use it as well. I'm going to go down to one more. Let's go to number 6, Ahmed v. Ahmed. All right. So here we have standard review, abuse of discretion. So this is a little bit different. And here's where you need to read through the cases and see why they are applying the type of standard review that they are applying. And it's really only a couple cases that you're going to have to read, but you're going to see are my facts and the way that the court is going up on appeal, the way that I'm going up on appeal, is it similar more to the Tessin case, or is it going to be similar more to this Ahmed v. Ahmed case, which then tells me there's a couple of different standards of review and how I should apply them. Remember, you're going to want to save this for later, so I can easily put this into a folder, choose a folder if you don't already have one, but you'll want to refer back to these two particular cases for this standard of review, and that is the Robert B. Tessin case, and number 6, the Ahmed v. Ahmed case. And really, there's not that many cases to read for this particular issue, but this should give you a good sense of what's out there and then also how you're going to apply your standard of review. So to do the second standard of review for wiretapping, all I need to do is just take out habitual residence and put in wiretapping. And we'll do the exact same process that we did with the first one, where we'll go in, we'll select multiple, so we're just looking at the 6th and the 9th circuits, and also Supreme Court. Click OK. Same process applies as we went through before. We're going to look at our search term map and go through our particular cases where those terms appear. I'm going to actually start with the Blackham case. So let's go ahead and select result number 2. As I continue to scroll down, I will see a little bit of my my terms appear here, but really what I want to focus on is right here. This simple paragraph outlines the 3 different types of standards of review. So I have de novo, and in this particular instance, de novo is going to be applied where a full and complete statement of fact was submitted in compliance with the statute. But then, if it was a full and complete statute, then if the wiretap, whether your issue is whether or not wiretap was absolutely necessary and the statements of facts are correct, then we have this standard of review abuse of discretion. Always remember that if the factual findings are at issue, then that standard of review is going to be clearly erroneous standard. But this is a really good paragraph that outlines the 3 different types and when you're going to use them, in particular to the wiretap issue. I'm also going to show you another case that's going to go more specifically into the analysis of how to apply the different types of standard of review. So let's go ahead and just select or enter in the citation 728 F2D 1195. So the United States v. McConney case really outlines, if we continue to scroll down, it really outlines how to apply each of the different types of standard of review. So here we have questions that are mixed, questions of fact and law, and whether or not the rule of law is established. Then how do we apply which standard of review and what those steps are to get to the ultimate, what we're trying to apply the standard of review, either it's de novo or whether it's clearly erroneous. But this is a really good case that goes through and explains the type of argument that you should be making in all of your appellate briefs for which standard of apply or which standard of review to apply. Again, I would want to make sure that you at least review the main rules that are coming out of this case. I can enter them into my headnote, but this is a really solid case for applying the different types of standard review and why you would apply each. All right, that is the end of the research video. Please let me know if you have questions. Thank you.